And welcome back to the Real Estate News. Realtor.com recently released their 2016 Hottest Zip Codes report, and the finding was that millennials are actually playing a huge role in these hottest zip codes. So joining us today is actually Jonathan Smoke. He's the chief economist for Realtor.com. Welcome, Jonathan. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Stacy.
So what are some of your big findings from this report?
Well, we were looking at what are the areas of the country, and we looked at it by zip code because that's really much closer to the neighborhoods that real people make decisions about where they want to live. And we looked at how quickly inventory was moving and how popular listings were on Realtor.com to define hotness. And this year, what emerged from analyzing the top markets in the country was that we saw three themes. Number one, we saw areas of the country that are definitely seeing significant economic growth, and that is producing much more jobs in those areas, and those areas also have much lower levels of unemployment. And so that leads to people literally being in a better position to be able to buy a home financially, but also gives them confidence that their conditions and their aspects for the future are very bright. The second theme that we saw in the markets was affordability. And so we tended to see either markets that were more affordable than prices are nationally, or within their broader market, suburbs or neighborhoods that tended to be a little bit more affordable to that local market, being a significant part of especially young people being able to get into the market. And then finally, that third piece is the millennial generation. They're the largest generation in history. They have been slower to get into home ownership, in part because of the economy that we've lived through over the last several years. But now their conditions are improving. We're seeing them in huge numbers. 4.4 million people will turn 30 this year, and that was in fact the median age for a millennial homebuyer last year. And we're seeing them play a big role nationwide, but especially in these hottest markets. And by the way, that's true for Madison as well.
Was that surprising when you saw that millennials were playing such a big role in this?
It's not surprising. We predicted it. I would say it was relieving, a relief to see it, because it's what should be happening. And it really confirms that we're on the very leading edge of what's going to be a demographic that's going to drive the housing market, not just now, not just next year, but for the next 10 to 15 years.
So we're broadcasting out of South Central Wisconsin. So I was wondering where Wisconsin is fitting in. Do we have any hot zip codes?
So we ranked every zip code in the country, and your hottest zip code, 53714 in Madison, ranks officially as number 128. So it's outside of the top 20, but considering there are 33,000 zip codes in the United States, that's a pretty respectable position for a very healthy housing market.
Well, that's great news. So what were let's say your top 5 markets then?
So number one in the country is a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas. It's called Watauga. It has all of those attributes that we were talking about driving the market in significant numbers, and that's why it made number one. Number two is Pleasant Hill, California, which is a suburb of San Francisco. It's a bit of a contrast, especially up against number one, because there the median prices are close to $650,000. So affordability sounds like it would be a challenge, but actually when you understand the broader context of San Francisco, where the median price is almost twice that amount in Pleasant Hill, relative affordability is driving some of the attraction there. And they actually led the charts in the price increases and have been for the last couple of years in Northern California. Number 3 on the list is a suburb of Denver, and that area in particular has been a place that has led the country in job creation over the last 2 years. And in fact, it has seen the fastest moving inventory of any place in the country. That area of North Glen specifically has seen inventory move a median of 11 days this year. And that's the median, so that's the middle point. And you can really understand that literally means that half of the homes in less than a week are sold when they first come onto the market, which is pretty impressive. Number 4 is Colorado Springs, which has very similar dynamic to Denver, though it's more affordable and there are even more millennials participating in that market. And number 5 is San Antonio, the most affordable market in the country, and it also is seeing millennials in large numbers in that market.
So I'm wondering what the forecast is for maybe next year. Is it too soon, or do you have some thoughts about where the market's headed?
No, it's not too soon, because actually this time of the year, what we're seeing on Realtor.com is largely a reflection of who the buyers are going to be next year, because the typical home buying journey today is 9 to 12 months. And we really see a change at the end of July and into August of all the people who are trying to buy this year will have done so, and now we're shifting to people who are looking next year. And the good news is we're seeing demand continue to grow. And we're expecting, and all the forecasts that I've reviewed from other people, like from the National Association of Realtors, indicate a similar expectation of growth on top of the growth that we've experienced this year. The biggest challenge is likely to be inventory, as it has been this year. So to the consumers that are thinking about buying, plan on starting early. And in fact, if you're in a financial position, it'll be much better for you to be trying to buy in the market this fall or winter, as opposed to waiting until next spring.
Great sound advice. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me, Stacy.